everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a first impressions on the Maybelline Super Stay 24 Hour Full Coverage Foundation. I hauled this in my Chemist Warehouse haul that I did a couple of weeks ago. I will leave a link to it somewhere. So normally when I do sort of my first impression videos, I tend to do what I call a product trial. So I apply it, I do check-ins, and I let you know how it looks at the end of the day. I'm not going to be doing that with this particular foundation, only because I'm going out tonight and I'm not sure when I'm gonna get home. So it just is a little bit easier to do a first impressions on how it first applies to the skin. And then I will wear it a few more times and actually leave an update in the description box down below on how it actually lasts on my skin all day. So as a point of reference, my skin is normal. I don't really have oily skin, I don't have dry skin, so I would classify it as normal. I can tend to be fairly lucky with foundations. I don't have to be overly picky with them. So I have heard a lot of good reviews on this foundation, so I am really putting my hopes and prayers into this that it is actually going to work well for me. As I have had to say in the last couple of videos, it is extremely sweltering hot here. I think it's about 41 degrees at the moment. I can't really have the aircon on because it makes too much of a loud noise, so I have to have the door open, but that does mean that you get sound traffic from outside. So I am sorry about that, but we will persevere together. I have already primed my face. Again, whenever I do these sorts of videos, I prime my skin simply because whenever I would wear this foundation in real life, I would wear a primer anyway. So if you don't wear a primer and you want to know how it works, I can't really help you. I assume it would work fairly well the same and maybe not just be as long lasting. But I have already primed my skin and I've used the NYX Shine Killer Primer. I really like this primer, especially because it is very hot and sweaty. I do need to make sure my face stays made up. Makeup on my face, you know what I mean. So when I do these videos, I do half of my face with a sponge and the other half with a brush to see how the foundation actually applies and if it applies better one way or the other. So I'm just going to go straight on in with a Real Techniques blending sponge with the foundation. I've picked mine up in the shade 28 Soft Beige. I was a little bit confused by the shade range of this foundation, to be perfectly honest with you, because when I first saw it online, I thought I was going to be around the shade like 15. And then when I actually went into the store and swatched it, it was so pale. Traffic noises. It was so pale, it was pretty ridiculous. So if you are interested in picking up this foundation, I do highly suggest that you go into a store, you don't purchase it online, and you do some swatches on the back of your hand. Walk around the store because it does oxidize. So walk around the shop for a little bit, give it time to sink into your hand or your neck or wherever you prefer to blend it, and then check the shades because they will change. I can tell you that. So this is a drugstore foundation that comes with a pump. I have seen a couple of people be really surprised like that, like, oh, it's a drugstore foundation that uses a pump. Most of them do now, like most of them do. Nearly every single one of the Rimmel ones, except for ones in the tubes. Most of the Maybelline ones, like at least here in Australia, so many foundations come with a pump now, so it's not something that really gets my engine revving when I see it with a pump. I sort of expect it. So I'm just going to take a bit of it on the back of my hand first. I'm going to start off with one pump. That is how much that comes out with one pump. It's actually kind of small, there's not a lot there, but that's okay. So I'm just going to take it on my sponge and dab it in and around the face, and we'll see. This foundation is supposed to be very high coverage and it's supposed to last on the skin all day, make your skin look really beautiful. So let's see. So I can already tell that one pump is not enough for me to get the coverage that I like. So I am just going to go straight in with a second pump before anything else happens. Okay, so that is how that half of the face is looking. That has 2 pumps of foundation on it, and I think it looks really pretty. It has definitely covered everything. I would not say at the moment this is full coverage. I would guess that I'd probably need to go in with another half a pump to a pump to get this up to full coverage, because I can still see a little bit of discoloration here, a little bit on my cheeks, and a little bit up here on my forehead. So it's not quite full coverage with 2 pumps, but that's okay. I'm not mad at it. You can definitely tell the coverage of it though, just looking straight down the barrel there. You can tell where I do and don't have foundation. I have very pink red undertones, and this foundation has very easily cancelled that out on my face. I really like how it's sitting on the skin. It does not feel heavy. It feels quite dewy and refreshing. So I really like that. It was super easy to blend in. I had no trouble with that. So I am just going to go straight ahead and do the other side of my face with a brush. I've got the AOA Studio High Definition F1 brush here, and I've actually cleaned it. I've actually cleaned all my brushes, so applause for me. So I'm just going to go do the same thing again, just put on a pump or 2 pumps on the back of my hand and just get straight on in. Okay, so there the foundation is on that side of my face applied with a brush. As per usual, I tend to prefer how foundations apply with a sponge over a brush. That's just my personal preference. I prefer the look that it gives on my skin. That foundation, however, with a brush still looks really pretty. It did not streak or go weird on my skin. It did not cake up. That is the same amount of foundation on both sides, but it is still very smooth. It still feels very lightweight, not heavy at all. I don't feel like it's going to be clogging my pores. And again, the coverage is slightly better in a mirror anyway. The coverage is slightly heavier in the side that has the sponge versus the brush. But again, I tend to find that with most foundations anyway, so that's nothing to hold it against it. But I so far really like this foundation. I think I'm just going to very quickly go in again with the sponge and just do another layer or so just to pump it up to the coverage that I want it to be. Okay, so that is sort of it actually. That's all I'm going to really do. This foundation is so nice. So I have only added 1 extra pump, so probably three pumps, 3 layers of the foundation. And I think the reason why I added 3, and most other people when I see them review this foundation, they sort of, you know, are saying that they're taking 1 swipe and wow, look at the coverage. But I tend to spread out my foundation a lot more, whereas when I watch them do their videos, they are taking their pump and putting it only in the 1 spot, whereas I already kind of dot it around everywhere. So I think I'm getting exactly the same coverage, but I'm just doing it in a different way. But I have to say, this foundation sits so beautifully on the skin. All of those reviews are not doing this product justice. It does not feel heavy, yet my skin looks really flawless, but it still looks like natural skin. It doesn't look like I have a filter on. It just looks like I have no discoloration issues, no flaws, no acne, no pimples, no dark circles, nothing like that. It has cancelled out all of that stuff on your skin, and it just looks really nice. It's breathable, it's light. It was very easy to blend in, but as I said, it will oxidize, so it will oxidize while I do the rest of my makeup a little bit, but I did make sure that I got the right color for the oxidization. So now I am just going to go ahead and finish off the rest of my makeup off camera, and then I will be back very soon to let you know how other products went over the top of it and to give you my final thoughts once it's been setting on my skin for a little while. Okay, so I am very clearly fully made up. I can't talk today, but I have finished the rest of my face, and this foundation worked beautifully with all of my other face products. I had no trouble whatsoever blending my bronzer, my blush, or my highlight on top of it. I have a very serious glow happening today, because I tried out the Maybelline Master Strobing Liquid that I also picked up in that haul, and this is in the shade 100 Light. So I have that on, and then over the top of it I have the Nude by Nature highlighting palette, and I took the middle shade, so that pinky shade, and put that over the top. I really quite like it. I think it looks very, very pretty. I also tried the new Curvitude liner by Maybelline that, again, I picked up in that haul, and I like it. There's nothing else I can really say. I mean, it gave me a wing liner, as you can see. It is like not a very big wing today, but it did give me a wing liner. It was pigmented, fairly easy to use. The only issue that I had with it was probably because of the ball shape there, if you can see how it's almost got like a little ball in the middle there. I personally had a little bit of trouble because I'm used to, like, if that was my eyeliner, I'm used to resting it against my eye as I drag and make the line. With that little ball, you actually can't do that because you get like an uneven line because it imprints the ball. So that's more user error. I just have to get used to that. But I liked it. It was pigmented. I will leave a note in the description box down below if it actually stays. So if it doesn't bleed or transfer or flake off for at least the few hours that I will be wearing this. As I mentioned at the beginning, I am going out tonight, so I won't be doing a final check-in. This is actually Valentine's Day, the day that I'm shooting this, and I am not going out on a date. I am actually going out to celebrate Galentine's. I have no idea if that's how it's actually pronounced, but it is basically the single wheel version of Valentine's Day. So I thought I would put on this glam anyway, and I was really eager to try out this foundation to see if I liked it. Surprisingly, I do. Well, not surprisingly, I like a lot of drugstore foundations. I'm not very snooty. I do like a lot of drugstore foundations, but I really would recommend this one so far. It will depend on how it holds up, but it has performed exactly like everybody has put in their other reviews. So I had excellent time with the coverage, blended very well, all of that sort of stuff. And a lot of them said that it lasted really well on their skin. So I kind of have high hopes that it won't die on me, that it won't sort of like crack off or flake off in the few hours I'm going to be wearing it, because I won't be wearing it for very long. It'll only be sort of 5, maybe 6 hours, if that. So it doesn't really have a long time to mess up. So if it can't last that, it can't last anything. But hopefully it will be able to last that. But like I said earlier, it's a really beautiful foundation. It feels really nice on my skin. All of these face products went over the top very well. I did bake, and I used the every single car in the street has to go by right now. Hasn't gone by while I was doing the rest of my makeup, but right now. I did bake and set this down with the Rimmel Match Perfection powder. So I baked underneath my eyes and a little bit around the rest of my face, just because it is so hot. It is so ridiculously hot outside that I know if I don't take certain steps, as soon as I step outside, the makeup is just going to melt off. I'm going to get agitated and I'm going to want to scratch it off until I bleed. So I don't really want to be doing that. So I did decide to bake it down, but it has settled in really well to my skin. I think it looks really pretty from afar and up close, and also in real life. So through a mirror, it looks really nice, and from what I can see on the monitor through my phone camera, it actually looks really pretty as well. So let me know if I'm delusional and if I look ridiculous. If you are in Australia, I stressed this in my Chemist Warehouse video. If you are in Australia, please go and check Chemist Warehouse before you buy it from anywhere else, simply because of the price. You can get this at almost 50% off to 40% off, depending on what sale they are running. They may not be running exactly the same sale as when I picked this one up, but they always run some sort of discount. So save yourself a couple of dollars. Otherwise, this little baby is like $25 Australian, I think. So it's actually quite an expensive, well, it's not an expensive foundation, but for drugstore, it is actually expensive. So if you can save some money, run and get it from Chemist Warehouse or somewhere else where it's a little bit more affordable. But I would 100% recommend that you pick it up. Thank you so much for watching this video. Leave it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and subscribe if you have not already. But that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.